أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم زين للناس حب الشهوات من النساء والبنين والقناطير المقنطرة من الذهب والفضة والخيل المسومة والأنعام والحرث ذلك متاع الحياة الدنيا والله عنده حسن المآب رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي فالحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The first passage, alhamdulillah, we went through briefly was the passage from Surah Al-A'raf. So the first passage, Surah Al-A'raf, is the overall passage that deals with the teachings on this subject. The next section is a little bit scattered, but it basically has two components to it. The first component of it is just one ayah of the Quran, and this is ayah number 14 of Surah Al-Imran. This is the 14th ayah of Surah Al-Imran. And the reason I've included this ayah is because it'll give us a very good insight into how we're supposed to think about this subject, how we're supposed to feel about it, and how we're supposed to judge our own emotions. Allah says, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ. For people, the love of attaining desires, temptations, was beautified from women. Meaning the temptation from women and the desire for women was beautified inside of men. It was something put in them. This sigha is what's called majhul. Majhul means that the doer is not known. And it suggests here that it's a reality. It's done. It's not something you can do anything about. Men are going to have very strong attraction feelings towards women, overwhelmingly. And it's not going to be something that's easy to ignore. So much so that the Prophet ﷺ, one of the biggest things he fears upon this ummah is not, a power or wealth or anything like that, it's women. Why? Because it is such a strong temptation that Allah Himself acknowledges when He makes a list of temptations, وَالْبَنِينَ وَالْقَنَاطِيرِ الْمُقَنْطَرَةِ, having children, having piles of wealth, مِنَ الذَّهَبِ وَالْفِضَّةِ, made of gold and silver, وَالْخَيْلِ الْمُسَوَّمَةِ, and branded horses, branded horsepowers, right? Branded horses. وَالْأَنْعَامِ, and cattle. Cattle is basically, business, because back in the day, what was your business? It was your farm. That was your business. So an'am is everything you're putting to work, because cattle is now your cattle could be the MRI machine in your clinic is your cattle, right? Your tools at your mechanic shop are your cattle now. So your laptop is your cow, right? You're milking your laptop to produce the apps. That's what you're putting to work. The cattle was what you put to work to make your money. So it represents everything you use to make money. All the devices you have at your disposal to make your income, okay? And of course you could have a car that you call a cow, whatever, okay? Well, harth, and harth is the crop. Of course the cows are used to do the work, but at the end of the year you get the crop. So the crop is your income, your bonus, your savings, the profit, the part that Uncle Sam doesn't take away, all of that, right? That's al-harth. These are the things that people are obsessed with, and especially men. If you think about men, and it depends on a certain age, because some of these things are age specific and others are not. So for instance, for men, the temptation for women, endless. It's endless. It hits you at a certain age. At a certain age, you're a boy. You say, hey, you want to go hang out with the girls? Ew, they're disgusting. Right? When you're little, girls are, my boys tell me that. Boys, Abba, let's go to the masjid and let's not take the girls. Okay, let's do that. Because girls are not like boys. Yes, you're right. They're not like boys. And I don't like them. Okay, I got it. Okay? But that starts changing a little bit. And an age comes when, then you don't know what to do with these feelings at a young age. You're like 10, 11 years old, and you're like, last year I used to think girls were stupid and ugly and all of that, but now in my head somewhere, this is kind of pretty. But do my friends think like this too, or is just me? So maybe I should just, punch her or something to express my infatuation with her. Alright, so it comes out in strange ways, but the feeling is starting to come. And then you start seeing everybody else around you start talking about things like, and of course in our times it's even worse with the relationship between men and women being so open, right? It's so open, it's so everywhere. So our children, this is actually a big challenge for us because our children technically, generally, they tend to mimic what the adults do, right? Children observe the behavior of adults very carefully and they try to act like adults because they feel like this is what they want to be. So if you take a briefcase to work every day, your son will pick up a briefcase and want to take it to work, So if we're in a society where affection between men and women, the idea of romance, romantic movies, public displays of affection, indecent kinds of conversation, behavior and talk, these things are just commonplace, right? And even in children's entertainment, they slip in these kinds of things. Like I personally have a really deeply rooted hatred for Disney. I have a deeply rooted hatred for this company. Because on the one hand, they'll make great entertainment for children. It's fantastic stuff. And then they'll slip in sexuality, right? They'll slip in a boy kissing a girl, or they'll slip in somebody likes somebody else, or they'll just innuendos, they'll slip it right in. And this is supposed to be children's, entertainment, but it's becoming normalized, right? The same thing will happen on Nickelodeon and other TV shows that are supposed to be actually for younger children, but they'll slip in themes. And slip in ideas like, the prom or dating, or I really like that boy and he's coming over, don't embarrass me in front of him, etc., etc. They'll have these kinds of themes where girls are overly conscious of boys, boys about girls, and things like that, right? First time I was shocked about this stuff is when I watched Jimmy Neutron. You guys ever seen Jimmy Neutron? Okay, Jimmy Neutron, that was really disturbing to me, because that was supposed to be a really goofy kiddie show. And the girl really dislikes him, but secretly likes him, and he dislikes her, but he secretly likes her, and they keep suggesting it in the, So this idea of romance is being pumped into children who have no concept of what it is. They're artificially injected with these thoughts. And so it's like kindergarten or first grade in public schools, and they're having a prom. Who are you taking to the prom? And this kid's, who's your girlfriend? And these kids doesn't even know what girlfriend means. They don't even know what that means. They just know that you're supposed to like a girl. Because they're not at that age where they can process these things in a natural way. So it's unnaturally introduced to them, and it's harmful. It's very, very harmful. So the reason I'm bringing all of this up is because the ayah says that men were given the temptation for women. It's there. But it hits you at a certain age. It comes into you at a certain age. And if you introduce it at an age earlier than that, it will damage your personality. You will have an unnatural understanding and an unnatural experience of what it means to have relationships, to have even a romantic relationship. Because at the end of the day, that is what is going to be the relationship between you and your wife. It's going to be a romantic relationship. But you're not going to be able to have a healthy one if it's corrupted so early. If it's so corrupted so early. And the shows I just mentioned are still subtle. It's bad, but it's still subtle. Right? Right. So unfortunately, it's a hideous word. I hate saying it, but pornography has become a reality. And it's become such a rampant and widespread reality that there are kids that are exposed to this stuff at a very early age. There are actually now research papers by sociologists, psychologists, research now showing that children are so versed with their mobile technologies that they've learned how to hide this stuff. They can download this stuff and learn how to hide it. And there's two forms of it, online and offline, like magazines and pictures and and images and things like that. Or there's digital stuff like videos and downloadable files and pictures and things like that. And even if your child is not exposed to it directly, there may be a friend at school who showed it to them, or they're just sitting at the lunch table and somebody next to them is watching this stuff. And what are you doing? I'm just having fun, whatever. It's not a big deal. What's the big deal? It's kind of funny, right? Look at it, it's kind of funny. They'll just show, because they don't, they saw somebody else do it, and it trickled its way down to them, right? So because this is such a rampant disease in the society we live in, and also it's a global problem. So I know there are people watching in Pakistan, India, other places in the world. It's not like this problem is an American problem or a European problem or an Australian problem. This is now a global problem. The advent of the internet, you can do wonderful things with it, but it overwhelmingly has some great harms to humanity too, right? So this natural feeling that we have, this attraction that we have towards the opposite gender, can be corrupted very early because of these images, because of this exposure. So the first thing I want to talk to you about, because we have a lot of things to talk about today, under this ayah, is that this is a conversation every single parent has to have with their child. And it's going to be difficult, but you have to have it. You have to have it. That if it's not your child, it's your child's friend's friend. It's almost impossible to assume that our children will not be exposed to this. And there's only so much we can shelter them from the world around them. We have to teach them how to deal with the world. The more we try to hide them and protect them from it and keep pretending that it's never going to hit them, we're just deluding ourselves from reality. Right? And I'm terrified at the thought that my children should be exposed to something like that, but I'm even more terrified at the thought that they are exposed and I never guided them. And I never told them that you can talk to me about it, and I know it was bad, but and inshallah, you're not in sin for it, it was a mistake, but stay away from those kids and let me know who they are so I can talk to their parents and something, some kind of conversation needs to exist. This is particularly difficult for Muslim families, because in our families, we don't even talk about marriage, which is halal. Marriage isn't even, our boys are afraid to talk about marriage, right? They're afraid. Our girls are afraid to talk about marriage. They can't, they're terrified, because we've made it an ugly subject. It's not supposed to be a terrible subject. You're supposed to be able to talk about these things comfortably with your parents. You're supposed to be able to do that. But now we're talking about something that's haram. We're talking about pornography, we're talking about films you've seen. You're talking about a girl that asks you to the prom or something like that, or there are all these other haram things. So even if the halal things you can't even talk to your parents, how in the world do you think they're going to bring up to you haram things? They're not. And if they don't talk to you about it, I can guarantee you they'll be talking to your friends about it, to their friends. And they'll be getting the kind of guidance that 7-year-olds can give, that 10-year-olds can give. So we're setting our children up for disaster, because this is what happens at the age of children. And I'm not going to give you a whole session on pornography and things like that, but I do want to tell you some things. What this exposure does is that as boys, especially with boys, because overwhelming statistics that I've read, and I'm no statistician, so you should do your own studies on this subject. Actually, as a matter of fact, in my mind, this subject, shame, is going to be a 3-part presentation. The first part is by me. The second part, I was going to get Sheikh Umar Suleiman to do a hadith study of shame. And then I was going to get, there's a few people in Chicago that have put together a really nice program under ISNA. Really fantastic program on statistics, children's behavior, like real life studies, counselors that come and present this stuff. And I'm going to invite them, inshallah. My intention is to invite them to Dallas, just as a service to the community, and have them present this stuff. Because we need to know what our children are exposed to and what's out there, and what to look out for. And a lot of times we're clueless. I'm clueless. I don't even know, like my kids were watching a cartoon the other day. I didn't know what it was, and I felt bad, because I should know every cartoon and every character. I should know what season they're in, which episode they're on. I should know that. No, honest to God, I should know that. Because if I don't know that, I don't know which character is messed up. So I can talk to them about it. I can only hide them so much from it. I can only hide them so much. Well, I need to know this stuff. So it sounds weird, but I'm religiously obligated, I feel, to know everything from Arthur to, what are those girls with the ponies? Anybody know about that? My Little Pony? My Little Pony. I'm supposed to know this. It'll drive me crazy. I would much more enjoy banging my head into a wall for 2 hours. But I will watch those things because my kids are watching that stuff. They like that stuff. They want to watch that stuff. It's fine, but I need to guide them through it. And actually, I've personally discovered, living in the modern world, that is a good opportunity. Those kinds of shows are actually a good opportunity to teach your children values. Because when they go out to school, you're not there to give them values. You're not there. We cannot just tell children what's haram. We can't just tell our kids what's haram. We have to tell them how to deal with it. How to deal with it. Remember when the ayah said, don't go near this tree, and that this is close? Well, all of this haram stuff is very close. It's closer than you think. It's on some of the mobile devices that are in this musalla. It's there. That's a statistical fact. You know? And don't check your kids' phones. It's okay. They'll erase it. You know? But it's there. This stuff is there. And it's taken even a next step with social media. Because with social media, it's not just some virtual, some virtual animals that are at it. It's actually someone down the street that you can, make friends with and, share thoughts with, and worse. Right? So it's become worse. So one of the consequences of this, by the time a boy reaches teenage years, he says, I want to get married. Right? The moment the temptation comes, he says, Abba, I want to get married. Baba, I want to get married. I want to get married. I want to get married. Why does he want to get married so badly? Because I want to have children, because I want the barakah of being the head of a household, because I want to... No. Why you want to get married is not a secret. It's not, Abba, Baba, it's half my deen. Yes, it is. But there's something slightly not so religious happening inside you that is motivating you to say, I want to get married. Right now, like right now. Okay? And when you do get married, because your entire concept of marriage revolves around fulfilling your lust. And it happened this way because your thoughts were corrupted early. So the only thing you know about a relationship between a man and a woman is physical in nature. There's nothing more to that relationship. That is what it's there for. There's no other purpose for that relationship. That means you understand the relationship between men and women as no different than the relationship between apes and female apes. And lions and female lions, and gators and female animal relationship. It's all it is. It's an animalistic relationship. Because that is what pornography does. It reduces us to animals. It reduces us to animals. And it reduces the relationship that's supposed to be, it's supposed to take you to the heights of spirituality. Marriage is supposed to build your deen. It's called half your deen for a reason. Not because it just protects you from fitna. That's not it. There's way more to it than that. And if that's not there, then you end up in a horrible, horrible marriage. You end up in a terrible marriage. She's terrible, she's miserable, and you're miserable, and you've ruined each other's lives forever because you're constantly dissatisfied. Because you're just looking for what you saw, the filth you saw online. That's what you're looking for. Allah actually explicitly told us this in Surah An-Nisa. It's not in my selections. But He says, He tells us, what are the motivations for you getting married? He says, مُحْصِنِينَ غَيْرَ مُسَافِحِينَ مُحْصِنِينَ غَيْرَ مُسَافِحِينَ. This is powerful language. Allah says the reason you should get married is because you want to bring women into your fort. You know what a fort is? It's a military base that is protected from outside attacks, right? That is the word ihsan, with a sad, not with a sin, with a sad. With a sad. And muhsin is also where you keep your cavalry, because a hisan in Arabic, what's a hisan? It's a horse. A muhsin is one who keeps the fort protected and the horses are inside, etc. Right? So the man is described as the owner of a fort. And he's described as bringing the female, the woman he's going to marry, into that fort. Meaning he's going to protect her. He's going to take care of her. And there are food supplies inside the fort. Everything is taken care of. If there's a major attack from the outside, you can survive inside the fort for months, not having to deal with the outside. There's this sheltered environment. That is the motivation for which you should get married. And then he says, غَيْرَ مُسَافِحِينَ. Not just to get your lusts out of the way. Not just because you're hormonal. Not just because you think she's hot. Not just because of that. Literally Allah says that, غَيْرَ مُسَافِحِينَ. Not that, that's not the right reason. Your hormones are not the right reason to get married. It means you're not in the right state of mind yet. So there are serious, serious consequences to family life that result from us exposing or not taking precaution and helping navigate our youth in their exposure to this stuff. I don't even say if your child is exposed or if the young people in this room are exposed. I'll be the bad guy. I know it's hard for you guys to have this conversation. Somebody's got to do it. They have been exposed. They have been exposed. So somebody's shown them something. That's an overwhelming likelihood that it's happened, especially for the teenage kids and especially for the boys, particularly for the boys. It's just so overwhelming. It's hard to avoid. It's hard to get away from. And they're embarrassed about it, they're ashamed about it, they feel bad about it, and they don't know who to talk to. Well, the first line of defense is supposed to be you, the parents. They should be able to talk to you about it without you flipping out, without you going crazy. You find something in their room, you find something on their phone, you find something on their computer, you listen in on a phone conversation, you find out what's going on at school. One of their friends told you that they had, there's a girl he's been talking to, this and that. You don't go crazy. You don't do that, because that means they'll never tell you the next time, and it won't get rid of their feelings. So we have to start with where do things go wrong? This temptation, especially inside boys, and even though women are mentioned as players too in the Quran, Surah Yusuf. So it's not just guys, but guys are the big problem. You guys we're the big problem. We know there's ijma on the ummah on this side. Okay, we don't disagree with that. Okay, so now, it is a natural feeling. You're naturally attracted to women. So it's not a sin to be attracted. It's not a sin to think she's beautiful. That's not a sin. Allah put that inside us. The sin is not controlling it. Like Mufti Muhammad Shafi explained it beautifully, rahimahullah, when he said, when you're fasting, you feel hungry or no? You feel hungry. Feeling hungry is not a sin. Astaghfirullah, I feel like I should eat in Ramadan. It doesn't make sense. There's an appetite that was put inside you. If you act out on that appetite, now you're in sin, isn't it? If you act out on that appetite, there's a problem. But if you have that attraction and you have those feelings, you're not an evil person. If you have those kinds of thoughts, you're not an evil person. If you had some kind of a dream, you're not an evil person. This is a natural part of who you are. However, when you get overwhelmed by these thoughts, and when you don't know how to control them anymore, and when they make you do things virtually or physically, when they lead you into those kinds of behaviors, now you're absolutely responsible. You're absolutely responsible. It's so peculiar in Islam. This was my last khutbah too, but I didn't mention this point. In Islam, men and women are held responsible for their actions, and they are, you can call it in the legal sense, tried as adults on Judgment Day when they hit puberty. Men and women are held responsible for all of their actions when they hit puberty. Now that could be at the age of 12, it could be at the age of 13 or 14, it could be at the age of 15, some kids even earlier, 11. So it's not an age, it's when you hit puberty. And how do you know you hit puberty? Boy, you will know when you hit puberty. You will know. Your worldview will experience a significant change. Okay? So it's interesting that you are just now being bombarded with a world of temptation, and just as that world of temptation is opened up to you and you've become more independent, just then Allah says, actually now I'm considering you an adult, which means you have more control over yourself now than you ever did before. At the age where you feel like you're losing control, Allah says, in your creation, that's when you have control. That's when you're responsible. Subhanallah. It is the opposite of what we learn in modern society. Boys will be boys. They're just kids. Let them have fun. First love. There are Muslim families that allow their children to go to the prom. They do. They say, at least we know who the girlfriend is. I've had those conversations with Muslim families. Muslim families. At least we know. You know what? You know what? You are sanctioning the obedience to shaitan, and you're ratifying it for your children, so they can say, مَا وَجَدْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا. This is what we found our ancestors, our parents committed to ourselves. They will quote you on Judgment Day. And you gave them that license? What is wrong with you? No, at least she's the same country as she's the same ethnicity. There are those. There are those who are okay with boy and girl dating if they're engaged. They can go out to dinner, they can go out to lunch, it's okay. We already agreed that they're going to get married soon. What? Where did you learn that this is legitimate? This is completely outrageous. And what do you think? Two young people that are attracted to each other and the parents said okay on top of that and nothing's going to happen? Do you remember what you were like when you were 17, 18, 19? Nothing's going to happen? What is wrong with you? What are you thinking? So we have to take a step back and really see what we're doing with our families, and with our youth in particular. And how this conversation is first about turning into men. For guys, it's first about turning into men. Now, don't be embarrassed by raising, I will not put you on the spot. How many young men here are not married that would like to get married? Because if you don't raise your hand, there's something wrong with you. If you're not married and you don't want to get married, then there is a problem. Because those feelings are inside you and you're not interested in the halal avenue. Because there's lots of avenues and there's one halal avenue. So you say, I'm not interested in getting married. Oh, we should talk. Because you should be interested in getting married. It's not possible for you right now. You think you need a little bit more maturing to do. Those are legitimate answers. Those are legitimate answers. But you need to, at least have the desire to get married. Having that desire is natural and a good thing. It is, especially in this day and age, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm mentally preparing myself from now. My older son is 5 years old. I'm mentally preparing myself from now. The moment he hits 10, 11, 12 years old, I'm going to start talking to him about girls. Because there's the other option available online now. Because there's other, homosexuality is being introduced in the public school system now, and it's being purported as normal. So my boys liking girls is also a good thing. It's a good thing. No, I'm serious. There's such an attack on the fitrah. There's such a huge attack on the fitrah that we have to really come to terms with what's going on in the world around us. And if we don't do that, then we're not going to be able to benefit from these ayat. This potent desire was put inside human beings. Our job is to navigate it. Our job is to maneuver it. Talk to your girls and your boys about marriage, about the opposite gender. From the very beginning, take the taboo away from it. Take the taboo away. But that does not mean you speak in indecent language. And that's the other thing. We should be open with our kids, right? So we should say whatever vocabulary. I'm not going to use that vocabulary. Personally, I will not use that vocabulary. You know why? Because that's a sunnah of Allah. Actually, I'll turn to the last page of my notes because it's coming up now. Even though I'm not ending, relax, okay? It's a beautiful sunnah of Allah. Do you know that the intimacy between man and woman is talked about in the Quran? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different words are used. 7 different words are used to describe the intimacy between husband and wife. Not one of them is literal. Never once, 7 times. Allah never used a word that you could translate it as something that, children are listening, don't translate it. Never once. He talked about something that all of us will experience in life in marriage. We're going to have children. It's an important thing to deal with. It's a reality. But the way he talked about it is so noble. It's so beautiful. It's so majestic. What are the words, if those of you that are taking interest in this, bashara? This, qada fatran, qada wataran, falamma qada zaydun minha wataran, right? Rafatha, fala rafatha, wala fusuqa, wala jidala fil hajj. Then there's massa, walam yamsasni bashar. قالت walam yamsasni bashar. There's lamasa, and then there's tamatha, and there's qaruba. Qaruba, literally qaruba means to come close. That's all he said. That's all he said. And then there's ata, there's an 8th one, ata. Ata, just you came. You came to someone, that's it. That's all it says. Why? إِنَّ اللَّبِيبَ مِنَ الْإِشَارَةِ يَفْهَمُ أَقَلْ مَنْ كِلِي إِشَارَة كَافِيَ bhai. Right? The smart one can understand, you don't have to spell it out. So the same is true, if that's the sunnah of Allah teaching humanity, we can apply that sunnah in talking about these things with our children in a way that is age appropriate. In a way that's age appropriate, and navigate these things, okay? So the point of this one ayah, and me putting it in this section, was to let everybody here know and remind myself also that these feelings are not evil. We're not supposed to make our boys and our girls, and yourselves, you should not feel guilty for having these feelings. That is part of who you are. That's something Allah put inside you. That is there. But Allah says in that same ayah, ذَلِكَ مَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا, that is the enjoyment and utility of worldly life. Wallahu indahu husnul ma'ab, and Allah has the best possible thing to go back to. In other words, every one of these temptations, Allah will fulfill them and then some in a way you couldn't even imagine when you go back to Him. When you go back. But they are going to be here. So bringing these things up, to our children, especially talking about the temptation to look. And by the way, the first time a child looks at something pornographic, unfortunately, they're disturbed, they're scarred, they might even cry, they might even be shocked, because it's not something right for you to look at. What did Allah say in our fitrah? In our fitrah, it's something beautiful or something ugly. When the clothes are removed, He taught us it's something ugly, a saw'a. So the child sees it and they're just taken back by it, they're disturbed by it. And then it's peer pressure too. Other people are watching. Hey, why don't you watch? Something wrong with you? Are you gay or something? They're gonna say things like that to your kid. He's like, oh no, gay, okay, I'll watch. That's gonna happen too. So you have to have these outright conversations. And I can't have them with your kids. You have to have them with your kids. But you're welcome for me starting it. Because, I don't know if you would have started it. I don't know. I don't think so. Because if you're anything like my family, I still can't talk about these things to my mother, and I'm a father of 6 children, and I can't talk to my parents about this stuff ever. I'm shy to talk to them about marriage still. Not that I'm considering, I'm saying that I've been married, or God. Every time my wife was expecting, I couldn't tell my parents. Yeah, I couldn't do it. Because we come from a culture where these things are super taboo, right? You just don't talk about them. So the first things first, here's my advice before I go on. First things first, as your children are reaching their pre-pubescent years, because of the overwhelming exposure that's there, at least start talking to them about what marriage is supposed to be like. At least about that. At least. Not that they're getting married anytime soon, but they should know what's ahead of them, and they should know where these feelings are going to be released in a healthy way and in the right way. At least that, because that's the halal thing to talk about. And slowly ease into the conversation about, look, you're going to be exposed to these other things and it's bad for you. And so now I'm going to move on. Before I go to the next section, I'm going to talk a little bit to the men in the audience. Just because you are married or you're an adult doesn't mean this is not a problem for you. The statistics are just as bad for adult males as they are for youth. They're just as bad. And you know what this is doing? It's ruining your marriage, because it's killing your soul. This exposure to this stuff, the zina of the eyes, which is what this is. It's zina of the eyes. It is killing you spiritually. You will not be able to pray properly. You will not be able to live your life properly. There will be no barakah in your life. This eye that Allah gave, I remind myself and I remind all of you, this eye that Allah gave, how many sensitive nerves are inside it? If Allah decides to just cut one of these nerves, just cut one, and it's being held in its socket, and behind it, the cabling behind it is not very extensive, right? Allah decides you're watching the wrong thing with the gift I gave you, these eyes, alam naj'al lahu aynayn, just cut it, just tune you out, to disconnect the viewing experience. Does He have the power to do that? Think about that next time you watch something inappropriate. These eyes were not given to you to disobey Allah. They're not given to you and me to disobey Allah. Keep your eyes low. Keep your eyes low. And don't watch that stuff. And don't listen to filthy stuff. Because filthy language conjures up filthy images in your mind. That's what it does. When you say there's nothing wrong with, dropping an F-bomb every once in a while. There's nothing wrong with, a little bloop here and a bloop there. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just frustrated. No. When you use that kind of filthy language, then it necessarily has an effect on what your thoughts are. It's directly connected. And you are destroying yourself spiritually. You will not be able to connect to Allah, and wallahi, when you cannot connect to Allah, you cannot connect to any other human being. Forget having a real relationship with your wife or your parents or your friends. Everything will go, because you don't have a real relationship with Allah. Everything will fall apart. Everything. Nothing good will be left in your life. So this is not a small matter for adults, for males, females. Watch out for this stuff. Really, really watch out for this stuff. And so as I go into this next section, which I'm going to combine with this section, the next section is the definition of the word al-fahsha. It's the definition of the word al-fahsha. Remember I told you al-fawahish, right? We're going to look at its linguistic definition. I'll read through all of it by Ibn al-Faris, rahimahullah.